What's up, everybody? Dark Knight 316, Robert Wheeler Gaming, and this is the Roundtable Podcast. So, Robert, what did you bring us today for drinking?
I found this Ruthless Raspberry C4 for the WWE's Ruthless Aggression era, which was dumb because I don't even think that was a real era. They just called it that, but that's another story.
And you got me this Bucked Up Energy.
Man,
and it's with a B, not anything else on there.
You're get bucked up now.
Yep, and this is the grape gains. So let's see if I get any gains with this grape.
You know what's funny is, so you can tell the way that this can has been made, because if the artwork is back here and I opened it this way, that means it was loaded. Never mind.
That means that they didn't want you to see the artwork.
Cheers. They loaded it differently to...
Not too bad. So,
this one tastes weird.
What have you been playing?
Yakuza. I just beat Yakuza Like a Dragon. So now I got 2 more trophies left. That's going to be a grind. I'm like 70 something hours in those games. And yeah. So 2 more in this grind, so I'm taking a break from it for a little bit.
What do you think about it since you beat the game?
So, pros and cons in that game. I actually laugh because I think, like how people complained in Final Fantasy Rebirth about all the side quests. Like, you had tons you had to do in Yakuza, and that was for leading for a trophy. So I kind of feel like it. That's where it kind of took away. I think a lot of the side quests took away from wanting to do a lot more, and then also the repetitiveness. Now I like it because it lets you be able to build up more. But it was repetitive of constantly running to the same enemies over and over again. So, but other than that, the story's really good.
Well, with the complaining with the Final Fantasy, it's because with Final Fantasy there wasn't that many games in the OG one, and so when you're getting bombarded with all these ones that you're not expected to do, that's why people were complaining about too many mini games in my Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you played the other Yakuza games, then you're already expecting to do all this stuff.
But I do like, though, that it's like when you go to like the arcade, they let you play Sega games. I think that's pretty cool. And you think about about like how much data it took to make a Virtua Fighter, and then now it's
within another game.
It's just within this game, so I think that was pretty cool. But yeah, overall though, I think the story is really good. I enjoyed it. I really like the job system in this game. I thought it was pretty cool. It's unique because it's not like it's here's a black mage, here's a white mage. Mm-hmm. It's like they named it something, but it fits whether or not you're a healer or a tank or something like that.
And that one was it's a weird type game because they're trying to like ground it in reality. So they give you jobs that like are real jobs, but they make it with the RPG and the fantasy element. Mm-hmm. Like for example, you could be a chef, and fight with a ladle and a spatula.
Which was pretty cool.
And start, fighting.
You could be the host and then have like a champagne bottle, and you start attacking with that.
So it's weird stuff like that made the game unique. So what I'm playing is, I don't know if I said it in the last episode, but I finally platinumed Dragon Quest 3 and did now starting Dragon Quest 1 and 2. So I'm starting the first one now. And if you didn't know, the way that the story goes is you're supposed to play 3, then 1 and 2, because in 3 you find out in that the hero from 3 is the descendants of the ones from 1. So you got to figure out, you'll figure out what all happened and stuff like that.
You know what is coming out this week that I don't know. I probably won't have time to stream it, but Octopath Traveler 0 is coming out. I'm really excited to play that one. I don't think I'm going to have time to stream it, though.
Yeah, it comes out, Friday?
Comes out in a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, what with the Dragon Quest games, it kind of they have one of these optional bosses that reminisce me to Dragon Ball Z because it's like a Shenron dragon that grants you wishes. And where have you seen those ones before where they grant you wishes? Dragon Ball Z. So speaking of Dragon Ball Z and, everything Bandai Namco, we have a story here that says Nintendo announces plan to acquire Bandai Namco Singapore Studios and just call it Nintendo Singapore Studios. Now, what do you think about this? Because they said that the Singapore Studios was the ones who made Splatoon.
Mm-hmm.
And Splatoon was a popular game. They also made Ace Combat 7 and a bunch of other games. But now, if that's going to be under the umbrella of Nintendo, it's going to be interesting to see how the studio will go.
Well,
what's your thoughts on that?
They're buying 80% of the studio shares will be acquired, with the remaining after a certain period. So we don't know how much longer it's going to be. But I mean, to me, it's nothing of like a major announcement in a sense of like, oh, they're buying Activision, because Nintendo's already been working with these companies for producing games.
It's basically like Sony acquiring like Insomniac or whatever like that after they've used them for so many times.
So I mean, and from what I'm hearing, it's like a smaller studio. So it's not like they bought the whole Bandai Namco. They just bought a smaller part of the studio, which apparently was separate than Bandai Namco.
Yeah, I thought Splatoon was already part of Nintendo. I didn't know that the Singapore one was.
Could be with Nintendo. It's just that the Bandai Namco developed it, and then
but I didn't know that they developed the Splatoon series on there, because it says here that lead an easy transition with work in progress, giving them involvement in the development of Splatoon 3. But I mean, Nintendo needs to buy other studios and stuff, because since they're doing all these projects of the Mario movie that's going to be coming out, they just said that now they're doing the live action Zelda movie that's coming out. So they're going to need all the help that they can. Hopefully this doesn't become like a Square Enix problem or a Sony problem where they buy all these studios and then no games, or Microsoft, where no games really come out of that studios, and it's pretty much like a bust that they did, where it would have been better if this studio was independent.
But see, here's what's the interesting part of this article. It says Nintendo adds that the acquisition will only have a minor effect on their results for the fiscal year. So they're only going to get hit for a little bit of for their profits. They're only going to get hit a little bit, not like the $200-300 billion.
Yeah, but you got to think though, how much money Nintendo has.
Are they still owned by the Seattle Mariners, or do they still own the Seattle Mariners?
That's what I was going to ask you. I don't know if they still own it or if they sold it. Yeah,
because if they sold their portion, then they made tons of. They made tons of. I can't remember. We'll have to look that up at some point.
Yeah, we can look at our plug. Our other podcast that tackles the takedowns, since that's sports related, we could go and do it. So like and subscribe to that one too.
There you go.
Subscribe to this one too. We our Roundtable Podcast here. We're giving you all the news that that we like to talk about and stuff. And if you didn't see, I'm wearing my God of War T-shirt, and this is part of the story for coming up later.
Oh yeah, well I'm wearing my Sorry I'm Late cat shirt because I was busy.
He was a little bit late
because of
his cat. Yeah. But. So our next story. A leaker claims that Destiny 3 is in development. So, I mean, he put it on Twitter that Bungie's working on that. Of course, it'll be in early process, so pretty much anybody could say that it's up. But they're working on Marathon, and Marathon had a bunch of problems with Bungie because they were being sued for stealing art that somebody else created that they're trying to say that was theirs. And, they already are either about to release another expansion to Destiny 2, or it's like in development, one of those two, on there. So they got a lot on their plate. So this probably, in my opinion, will not come out until probably the PS6.
I think it will come out PS6.
It might be a launch title for PS6.
But it makes sense for them to make a Destiny 3 because I was talking about on one of my news segments about how like you can only like keep pushing Destiny 2 for so long before fans get tired of Destiny 2 and then fans get like, how much more can you add to the series after like 10 years?
Well, it depends on the thing, because
like Destiny was released in 2017, so you've been out about what, 8 years now? How much more can you keep pushing after 8 years?
You could say that with Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, but
they got like 20 expansions.
But that's different because, like, you know, with RPGs, it's more story driven. It's more you're building up to get to this thing. Like Destiny, it's basically just a FPS, and you're just running around doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, unless the story for Destiny 3 is really good, I think it's gonna bomb. I don't think it's gonna be that good. Same with this marathon game, because of so much problems that they had. I don't think that this might end up being another Concord, in my opinion, because I don't see any of the hype. Like, I don't see anybody like, oh my gosh, Marathon's coming out. Oh my gosh, like,
yeah.
I don't see that on the social webs. Anybody like really, like hammering, going, oh, this is gonna be the best game. It's from there, but I do believe that Bungie lost its magic. Their super sauce that since they left, created Halo, and gave it to the other studios for Microsoft to make the Halos. That when they went and got acquired by Sony, I think they lost their magic sauce. That they're probably never going to have that success of
I think
Halo game.
I think what they got to do is they got to couple, like how you see here, like Arc Raiders. They got to start copying a little bit of. I mean, let's face it, that's what happens in the gaming industry. Like everybody did with the Souls games. They got to start copying like what's making Arc Raiders successful, or as they start to get closer to finishing up development, like what is something that's popular there. That because by the time this game comes out, like Arc Raiders might not be as popular as it is now, and then like you're copying the exact same thing, or can you lead the charge of something that's going to be new, that something that fans are going to want while they're playing with their PS6? So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I see this is going to be way off. And this might also affect the game being released if Marathon bombs as bad as most people think it probably will. Then Destiny 3 will probably get like a super overhaul and stuff like that, because Sony's been wanting to get a hit of either the hero shooter, the loot shooters, for a long time, and they've never had a big hit. I mean, Helldivers 2 was a big hit, but it wasn't really like, that's not really like a Sony Studios. Helldivers 2 was an independent one. They just had Sony help them out, creating the game, and now it's multi-platform. But Sony wants their studios to have that big hit, but they have not been able to do it. And so maybe Destiny 3 doesn't need to come out. Maybe, everybody's tired of Destiny. Maybe like it's already, ran its course. Maybe you don't need it again. Because to make Destiny 3, in my opinion, stand out to be really, really good, now you're going to have to come up with like a newer concept that everybody else will copy going forward. Because Destiny 2 is pretty much like every other like team-based shooting game and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, they probably were the first ones to do it. I mean, they were from Halo, so it's not really like the first one to do it, but like, they've been out and been successful for a while for Destiny 2, but now this is going to be the new era with PS6 and whatever Xbox does and Nintendo, that they're going to need to do something that, one, draws you to buy the PS6, but two, make you the leader, so that then everybody's like, oh, I gotta get that Destiny 3 money, so I gotta go create it. Because if you look at with Call of Duty Black Ops just came out there, and it's really not getting the heart. Like, you only just have a hardcore Call of Duty fans saying, "Oh yeah, this game is the best game."
Yeah, but
blah,
I
blah."
mean,
And like they're always saying, but
7 Black Ops
Battlefield
later.
6 came out, and that thing blew up like it was the
But
best
see, Battlefield
thing
6
ever.
has also, when I played the beta, it also like gone back to originally like what your shooter games, what it was like
Yeah.
back in like the modern warfare
Yeah,
days.
well,
That's what it
well,
felt
Call
like.
of Duty did that also, but then 7 games later, they went to all this weird, like, Borderlands, weird sci-fi type
Yeah,
game that
they're
really
in
makes
a-
no sense that it's Call of Duty, because I think what they're trying to do is mix a lot of genre into their Call of Duty game, like a mix of Borderlands, a mix of like Helldivers, a
Yeah.
mix of like Fortnite. They want that Fortnite money, they want this kind of thing, because Call of Duty is so like trying to be like Fortnite that's why they had like
They had
the
the
Beavis and Butthead skins,
arena battles,
or they had
and things
the
like that.
Jay and Silent Bob skins.
I
Like,
think it was-
that's not Call of Duty. Like, you need to be unique to or innovate enough where you become the new standard.
Because what do they got right now? Warzone, that's pretty popular. But I remember, I think it was Black Ops 3 or 4 or something like that. It was like I was playing the multiplayer, and it was confusing already about how to even like multiplayer and stuff like that. But they did it like how they have the zones, and then the zones get smaller and
Yeah,
smaller.
that was
So
the
it was
Warzone.
like it was confusing to me because I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing to try it out, and I was like, okay, this game's terrible. But I think what made Call of Duty great back in the day was like they had a really great single player campaign, and then sometimes it was either like single player campaign was really good, but the multiplayer was terrible, or vice versa. And you don't see that now. Like you see everything. It's basically like if they can add zombies in it, then that's what they're adding, and then that ends up taking over.
That's why, like I was telling you for years, that Call of Duty needs to have their separate stuff. Like, I don't think that they, going forward, needs to have a single player campaign. I think that they need to, like, departmentalize the stuff. Like, maybe come out a game that's just their zombie stuff, and then come out a game with just their multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
And just focus on that, because a lot of people don't play the single player. Most of them buy Call of Duty for the multiplayer or for the zombies. So if that's your cash cow right there, that's what you should focus on.
I think the issue you run into though is like, because then if you're how you price it, because if people are willing to buy a $70 game just to play zombies, then they're making $70 off of just playing zombies.
You can do it how they did it with the PS4 and PS5 transition, where they had like the Call of Duty page, and then you buy basically like the different ones, so the different systems have it. So they could do it like that, where you go into their page. If you just want the multiplayer, you buy the multiplayer, and you have fun doing that. You buy the zombies.
Could do that.
You just do that.
But that's the thing. Like I'm saying is, so if they priced it and they said multiplayer is only $20, zombies are only $20.
Well, they don't have to.
And you're only paying $20 for that. Or I'm paying $70 just to play zombies. They're making 3 times as much.
Well, they can charge them as separate games, so they can charge them $50 for zombies, $50 for the multiplayer, and they'll sell that too. And then they can also sell a separate, add-ons and cosmetics and stuff like that for their game. I think that would actually be better for them and make more revenue for it, because if they're gonna put all that into one game just to justify selling it for like $100 or $80 or whatever the new standard's gonna end up being, and then have a crappy single player because we gotta have a single player because those fans that only play the single player, like, we gotta give them something. And then when they have all that within it, like, something's gonna suffer, like you said, where they used to have a strong single player but a crappy multiplayer, or a strong multiplayer but a crappy single player. This would justify like being able to separate it all.
But this is where I think they also fall on into that trap, because they're not coming up with anything new. They're just rotating a Black Ops, a Modern Warfare, a Black Ops, a Modern.
They're not coming up with a new war.
Like, I know a lot of people one of my favorite recent games from Call of Duty was Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people like Ghost, but I really like the extraction mode. Maybe you make extraction zombies, but like extraction was really good. I thought the story was really good in Ghost.
What did you think about Vanguard?
See, Vanguard, I thought the story was terrible, but I really liked the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and the reason why is because I'm not a fan of multiple perspectives in a game like this. Like, I don't think it works well, but they had it where you had to play as 4 different characters.
Yeah,
Their perspective. Like,
I don't think it worked.
It didn't work well.
I mean, that worked back in the day with the Medal of Honor games. They had it where it's like, you play as the United States.
Yeah.
And then once you beat that portion, they're like, try the Europe one. And then they had to do their different perspective.
But Vanguard, it was like, oh, it was this girl. They had the girl, like, from her perspective. She was kind of like, the stealthy type. But I'm like, how am I a stealthy type in an FPS game? Like,
yeah. See, that's why I said, like, Call of Duty has lost its way. So I think the way that they'll bring it back is do the different departments.
And I think also what makes it, like, what I don't like about it too, it's too fast paced for me. Because, like, right out this single player, it's just like everything's going on, and I'm running around trying to, like, take out everything. In the first stage of a single player game that, like, is supposed to be basically your introduction to get me into what you. So I felt like it was more like that's a trap that they fall in. And it is because, you know, these 4-player, co-op games and things like that. So that's where I think if Destiny 3 is in early development, they need something that, like, kind of takes a stage to say, this is why you're playing this and this is why everybody's copying me.
Yeah, like, I don't think Destiny 3 needs to have a single player. I don't think that they need, like, a single player campaign.
It needs a single player campaigin and it needs a co-op. I think it needs both, like a jump in, jump out.
I think it just needs multiplayer. Make it more like Outriders, where it's like it's all multiplayer based, but you can go into it playing single player and going and building up your character, getting new builds and stuff like that. But
I think they need also the progression of builds to be much better for, like, people like me who don't have a lot of time to play Destiny. Like, they need the progression of the builds to kind of make it where it's not easier, but a lot better, to where it's not like I'm not grinding out 50 hours just for one weapon to pass chapter 2, you know? So
I think maybe what they should do is something kind of like have a specific build, let's say like a turret gun, and you level up that turret gun. So it's like you have a set of skills, kind of like maybe something similar to Borderlands, but with Borderlands though you just do different ones. I'm just thinking like you build up the turret gun, so it's kind of like a companion, like in an RPG. So then that turret gun can then do, ice or fire or whatever like that. But you're building it up, so then you pretty much know what you want, and you can set it up each of your skills to do, like, oh, I just want the turret to just shoot fire or shoot rockets.
Yeah.
And then you set it up like that and you have your companion.
I think that's where Outriders had a really good, they had like a really good system of building up as you started going through the game. And then most of your grinds started happening like right at the end of the game. But I know, not a lot of people like that, but that's where I felt like when you and I would just play jump in, jump out, you had a specific, like a specific build. You can come in there, like you had the guy who was supposed to be the sniper, but mine was, I was just running in there and destroying things. Like, that's what I thought. Outriders had a really good concept of how you built the multiplayer with the single player, but they just, unfortunately didn't do as well as they should have.
Didn't sell a lot. But also, what I don't like about a lot of these ones with the builds is they gear you towards a certain one that they want you to do it. They need to just do it where you have the option of doing it, and they're just as good as if you switch over to the other one. Like, for instance, with like Outriders and stuff too, if you had a build with like your turret gun, they would make you basically want to use a bunch of sniper rifles so you can go back and pick them off and let your turret go do it. But if you don't want to play that way and you wanted to be with the shotguns or the regular rifles and stuff like that to do like the running guns or the close up on there, there wasn't a lot of the nodes that would build that stuff up to make it where it's comparable, that you could go run and do it yourself. They wanted you a specific build, even with like the DLC expansions. They already had the specific build in mind that they're like, oh well, if you play as, this class, we're gonna lean only towards sniper rifle, and it's like, well, I don't want to play as a sniper rifle, but I want to play this.
You don't choose that class.
That's the same with Diablo. Diablo 4 had that problem where it's like I wanted to play as the rogue, but I don't want to play as the dual wielder with the 2 daggers. I wanted to play as the bow for the rogue and just stand back and keep shooting the enemies and throw the traps and stuff like that. But when you look at all the skills that you can learn, it's geared towards the dual wielding for you to teleport and do the attack and teleport out. But it's like, I don't want to do that. I wanted to play as the bow, but they didn't have anything that was good for the bow. And then like all the weapons that you'd get for like your legendaries and stuff was geared towards dual wielding. So I think that they need to have a balance if they're going to have multiple classes within a certain build. I think that they need to balance it out where both ones will be able to do good for the enemies and stuff like that. But that's their Destiny 3 is in development. If you think Destiny 3 is going to do good, put that in the comment section there. If you think Destiny 3 will come out as a launch title for PS6, put that in the comments, because I think it's going to be the launch title on there for PS6.
Because you figure PS6 probably got 2-3 more years of before they release. I'm thinking late 2027, late 2028 is when it's going to release. Because they usually have a 7-year life cycle, but with what happened in 2020, you'd think it's probably going to be maybe extended by another year. Plus, I mean, PS5 is still popular. Why keep pushing for PS6?
I mean, they just now stopped having you make PS4 games, so
I mean, that's another story.
Going on, so our next story is, does the PS5 have a sequel problem? And what this article was talking about is their first games in the series sell a bunch of copies. They do extremely well. But then when they do a sequel, they either change the protagonist or the sequel isn't as good as the original, even though they built upon the original ones and they didn't do so good. So, like, the picture that they show Aloy for Horizon 2, they show the Ghost of Yotai, and then they show Spider-Man. And each of those games, are the sequels of it. And Horizon 2 didn't do really, it did good, but it wasn't as good as the first one. Like, if you played it, you went to, LA and all that kind of stuff because it's, the Forbidden West. But it didn't have that charm that a lot of people liked in the first one on there, because it seemed more deserted than it was lively like in the first one. And then same with the Spider-Man. The Spider-Man 2, their problem was it was all over the place. Like, I don't understand with Sony with Spider-Man 2 is they should have just focused it on Peter Parker. Have Miles have his own separate game, because now it's not going to make any sense with Miles Morales, having a second game. Well, actually it will, because of what happened at the end of Spider-Man 2. But it just feels like they put too much into the Spider-Man 2 doing the team up, and then made it where it's like 2 separate games into one, instead of just separating the 2. They could have lasted, like, Spider-Man 2 could have been way better with the Spider-Man portion of it, and then Miles Morales could have had his second one and had his own one, because now the way that the Spider-Man 3 is going to come out, it's basically like Miles's rogue galaxy of enemies was Peter's. So it's not like he's going to have his own. I mean, he had from the Miles Morales first one, he had a few of the rogue enemies, but they weren't really, in the second one. So now it's just going to be basically like it's a new Spider-Man, but the same flavor of, what we know of Spider-Man with the same enemies on there. So it's not going to be different. So I do believe that they have a sequel problem because they're trying to get you with all the nostalgia of, oh yeah, I remember, I like this one here. And then change it to the part where you're like, yeah, this was dumb.
Well, my biggest thing, though, is can you name a sequel that was better than the first game?
I don't know. How'd you like God of War Ragnarok?
See, I didn't like God of War Ragnarok compared to the 2018 version. I thought God of War Ragnarok, I thought, in my opinion, I thought they made Kratos weak. I thought they made him more of like, he wasn't as the God of War that you remember. It was more like, he's more an emotional Kratos. When you played like God of War, Kratos didn't care about anybody's feelings. He just.
But how was it compared to the 2018 one?
It wasn't as good.
Because in the 2018 one, he was more of a family man, so he wasn't the Kratos of the past.
See, and I think
even though that he gave up that, but then he ended up getting it back.
But that's where I think the mystery of it was, because it's like you have this new portion of him being a family man, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, okay, like you build that mystery of it. You play through the game. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Now you continue it on, you're like, what the heck are you, the Ragnarok? Like, okay, whatever. And like as you play through it, you had to go through these like 8 different nodes and like basically, and then it was like, what? Like I played it, I was like, I'm bored of this game, but I completed it, and I felt like it wasn't good. Like even if you look at Spider-Man 2, I felt like Spider-Man 1 was really great. Miles Morales was really great, but as you went into Spider-Man 2, it was kind of like they wanted to do where it was drop in, drop out for both of them. I don't think it worked as well because
that's what I'm saying.
Because some people like I mean, I didn't care which one to play. I would play with both of them, but it was like,
well, you had to,
in order for that to work really well. I think it would have been like a co-op would have been a lot better, where you can jump in, jump out co-op with somebody who wants to play Miles Morales. But I felt like the way that they had to build the story, it was basically like, okay, one level here, and then one level of Miles, one level of Peter, and so I don't think the concept of meshing the two together worked well. And then I felt like Venom at the end, it was just kind of like, okay, that's it. Like,
yeah,
you did the build up to say Venom was in the game just for just this little portion of having Venom in there. You thought it was Craven was he comes in and you show him that. It was like basically Venom for just like an hour of the game.
Yeah.
That's where you start seeing, like, even with Forbidden West, like Horizon Zero Dawn was really great. I think it's one of the best PS4 games created. But then when you have Forbidden West didn't take like what it just basically like same thing, just improved graphics and a story that wasn't as good.
Yeah.
I felt like Horizon Zero Dawn story was really good. And that's where I think that's where they fall into the sequel ones, because they can't really. I feel like it's hard. Like if I talk about movie wise, like you look at Iron Man 2, it's probably the worst in the franchise. Iron Man 1 was great. Iron Man 2 was terrible. And so that's where you're kind of running into the same with Final Fantasy. Like the remake was good, the rebirth didn't do as well, because you kind of fall in that point where a lot of people say, okay, well, if you're making a trilogy, I'll wait till the trilogy comes through and then play it all together at one point, rather than having to experience the story in bits and pieces over time. So I think there is a sequel problem, not just in gaming, but I think in mainstream in general. But also one of the problems that they have too is like, what's their new game that they come up with that they can roll into the PS6 era with?
Wolverine. That's what they're going to be banking on.
And Wolverine's so far in the PS5 life cycle that, like, what they're going to do is they're going to make the Wolverine, and then they're going to remaster it on the PS6.
Yeah.
And they're not really doing the second one.
But with the Wolverine, when they do the second one, it's probably going to still suck because of the sequel problem. Because, like how you were saying with Spider-Man 2, is I would have just liked it. You just play as Peter Parker. Do the whole Venom saga. Do it where he takes over the suit. He has to go fight. Have Carnage, like how you had in there, because Carnage was only a small part. Continue that story with the what's that guy's name? Like that Mr. Wonderful or whatever his name was. Like continue that whole story on it, and then make Miles Morales 2. Make Spider-Man Miles Morales 2, and then on him build up his enemies and stuff like that. Because if you play Spider-Man 2, which if you haven't played it, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna spoil it anyway. But they have it where, Peter Parker goes to, has his Venom suit. Miles Morales is trying to get a little bit stronger and stuff like that. And then you find out, that Parker's retiring now and Miles is going to go take over. And like what I was saying before is the problem with that is Miles doesn't have any new enemies. All his enemies were Peter's enemies. So, yeah, he's going to have to learn and adapt to these ones there, but it's not going to feel like it's a Miles Morales game. It's going to feel like, it's just a Spider-Man game, just a new person playing Spider-Man, because we're going to see, Venom on there. You're going to see Carnage. You're going to see, like, Rhino and Kraven and even
and all these ones too, like that. I thought in Spider-Man 2, I thought it was kind of lame that they had Mary Jane save Peter in, like, certain parts. I thought that was kind of... I had to play as a section of Mary Jane. Like... Where was Miles Morales at that time? What happened? He's over here fighting off this stuff, and Spider-Man's like, I'm about to die because I'm here, and Mary Jane has to come by.
Well, I understand why they did that, because... I don't. Because in the first one, remember, you had the Mary Jane parts on there, and then you had the Miles parts like that, so they wanted to continue that kind of feel. But I was saying is, like, in the sequel for Spider-Man 2, is they put too much into it that basically it's two games in one, and they could have just separated
it wasn't
and had
it didn't have the feel of the first one.
Yeah,
it felt too much like it just felt too. They needed to develop it, I think, in a different way. The concept that they were trying to think of, I don't think worked as well, and that's why I was really excited to play this, and then I played Spider-Man 2, and I was kind of like,
because
it's all right.
They try to make it where it's like, both of them here around the same time, but there was no co-op in it. They didn't have it where you do a drop in, drop out on it. It could have also been somewhat cool as if it had it where you could do any mission with any of the Spider-Man.
That would have been
You could pick which one it is on there, so you can create your own, basically, story on it. But the main problem is like I was saying, is now Miles Morales will just feel like, it's another Spider-Man game. It's not his own
Yeah, so
game.
like, that's the thing. Do you make a Miles Morales 2 and then a Spider-Man 3, or do you just...
That's what would have been the smarter thing to do, is separate them into that and do it, because the reason why they had Miles Morales is because, like, Peter Parker left New York and was going, on vacation or whatever, so there was nobody to protect New York. So that's why Miles' game made sense, because now he's the new Spider-Man.
They could have made the conclusion in the third one of having a separate Spider-Man, a separate Miles Morales, and both those games would have sold really well.
Yeah,
I think you separate them into, like, the third one is the conclusion where it's like, hey Miles, I need your help because of the world's gonna end.
Yeah, or they could have did it something where it's like, New York is like destroyed or whatever. Miles can't do it because it's like, he's just a rookie, so he doesn't know how to handle it. So he's like, hey Parker, I need help over. And then Peter comes by there, and what I thought would have been a better story than they did in the second one is, like, Peter comes to go help Miles, but he's in the symbiote suit, and so he's like, why am I coming here to do it? I'm the one that destroyed New York, and, like, have that problem. So then you have it where Miles has to face Parker and then break off that suit, but they never had that happen. They had the whole Venom as the main villain on there.
That makes me wonder if they're gonna make the third one now, or are they just gonna make it where it's like the world full of Venoms and they're all coming to attack? Like, what's gonna be the ending? Because remember, you had, like, the Kingpin, you had all those guys. Now you brought in Venom. Now who do you have? Like, who's gonna be the guy at the end? Is it gonna be Doctor Strange? Like, or Mysterio? Like, who's gonna be the guy who's gonna come in there now that is, like, the bad guy at the end of the third one to wrap it all up?
It's probably gonna be Kingpin again, but it's not gonna feel like anything new. It could be Chameleon, because Chameleon was hinted in the second one, but, like, that's the problem with the sequel. And with, like, Horizon, like, they pretty much were talking about, like, the creators of the world and stuff like that, and you find out stuff that happens to Aloy and all this kind of stuff like that, but that world was, like, so big that it also felt deserted, where there wasn't really like towns, hubs that like, because when you play the first one, there was like towns in every little section, and then they had like the monsters that surrounded those things. So it kind of felt like it was a living area where it's like these NPCs are moving around. It feels like, okay, this is a town I can hang out at, stuff like that. This one, it was all open. It was like all deserted, and so basically, like when you went to a certain section, it was like, oh, maybe one person's there to give you a quest or have it where you get them. There wasn't really like these gigantic hubs where it felt like the whole world it was lively. I mean, maybe that was their whole point on it, but it didn't feel like...
Yeah, this one of the games I gotta go back and
finish. It didn't feel like the Horizon that I liked in the first one. On
Zero Dawn, I remember seeing Guerrilla Games like showing off that, and I was like, I mean, I don't know, like, how strong is this game going to be? Like, it looks good. So then I remember, I think I bought it. I don't remember if we bought it day one or not, but I just remember playing it. I was like, I didn't care that Aloy was the main character. Like, I thought the game was really good. And that's where I was like, this game I thought it was one of the best games created on the PS4 era. And that's where I think PS5 is failing. Where's a game, like, is Astro Bot going to take you into the next generation? Is Stellar Blade like gonna? That's what I'm saying. Isn't a Sony focused Sony game that they created from the ground up and moving into the next generation to make sequels on the PS6. That's what needs to happen, I think, for Sony moving forward. And I mean, Sony's already been successful as much as it is already, but you got to think like they need a game that they can build a new character with, bring it into the PlayStation family, and build that game like they did with, like, nobody expected Horizon to be this good, and it ended up being a good game.
I mean, a sequel that they didn't talk about in this article that also had the problem was Ratchet and Clank. They introduced, I think her name was Rivet on there, and so it was basically like the female Ratchet, and you had to play with the two sides and whatnot like that, and it's like, no. Like, just expand the story of it.
I'm not for the whole, like, for me, it's like, if your main character is Ratchet, like, focus on Ratchet. Yeah, you can have Rivet in there, but I don't like this bouncing back and forth. Especially because I can't finish the game within, a certain amount of time. It takes me too long to finish it. And then I don't remember what happened. I don't remember the story too much, and then I'm going back like, what happened here?
Well, when they have that problem of it jumping back and forth, when you already finished the game and then you try to think about the, like, popular moments or whatever in that game years later, you can't, because you're jumping back and forth. You're like, oh, this happened. Oh, wait, that wasn't with Ratchet. That's with Rivet. Or, this happened. Oh, wait, that was with Miles. That wasn't with, Peter. So it's like, when you have that stuff that's moving around and having too many things going on, that's what ruins the sequel. So yes, Sony, in our opinion, has a sequel problem, and so they need to, like you said, come up with a new IP that's going to,
because see, they say that they have original, like, Astro Bot, Returnal, and Stellar Blade. Okay, well, Astro Bot's a really good game. I thought this version of it came out was really good, but can Astro Bot, like, is the game strong enough that going forward, like, you could keep making basically the same concept of Astro Bot and continue to make sales for it? Because you got to think, like, this is technically the second game of Astro Bot, even though, the first one, like, came out that they were showing off the PS5, but then you got to think the second one, okay, so they added basically the world of Astro Bots, combined it with all, like, the Sony stuff you have. Like, what can they do for the third one that's still going to give you the nostalgia, still be able to build for you to get the Astro Bot? Returnal, I thought, was a great concept. But it's like they're not making a Returnal 2. They're making I can't think of the other
Soros.
Soros or whatever it is. But it's not like a Returnal 2. And Stellar Blade, from what I've seen, was really good. But now Stellar Blade, isn't just going to be on Sony. It's going to be multi-platform. So it's like you have 3 games right here that could have been potential that you could have brought forward, but like it's not going anywhere. So I think that's where that's a problem. Especially too, Sony is strong with single-player games. they need to make something with the single player game that's like.
See, and like with this one here, with the Ghost of Yotai, it's a different protagonist. So people in Ghost of Tsushima liked that character on there, so you didn't need to change the main character to a different person. You could have just kept the same guy from Ghost of Tsushima and expand on that story. Because now, if you were to go back and make like a Ghost of Tsushima 2...
Oh, what they'll do is they'll just combine both of them for
probably switch you over.
Whatever the third one's going to be, there's just going to be the guy from the first one, the girl from the second one. They're going to combine them both.
Yeah, kind of like Assassin's Creed.
What's going to happen?
But like that's not going to be. It's not going to be good. Like they need to either make them separate games, or focus on one of them. Don't do the thing like with the success of Spider-Man, like you said. Spider-Man 1 was really good.
Really good.
Spider-Man 2, not so bad. Not so good because they had too much going on. And, like, if I was to think, like, some of the key moments there, like, I don't even remember any of Miles's key moments on there. Like, I remember most of Spider-Man's in the second one. But Miles is, like...
But you also think, too, like, Miles Morales, remember, the way that they ended his story, it was like... Now, why are you bringing him in the second one? There's basically not enough because, like, you ended his story when that girl ended up dying. But it's like, okay, now you bring him in there and you're trying to expand on little bits and pieces of his story. And it was like, it's kind of hard to do because you ended like a whole game of him having like, you know, oh, that girl that he knew died, and like, you know, getting revenge, you know, like something like that to be able to help build his story. And I think that's where it's like they basically ended his story and they're just giving him bits and pieces in the second one because it's mainly focused on Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But they had to bring in Miles Morales to just kind of bits and pieces.
And like they didn't have to. They could have just left it where there, and he has his aftermath of what he's dealing with at the end of Miles Morales 1. And then they could have had 2 where it's like, oh, she was actually involved in all this other conspiracy, so it builds up a new enemy that Miles Morales will have to face, and it builds up his rogue galaxy. Because this is the problem that you're having is, like we said before, now Miles' rogue galaxy of enemies is going to be Venom, it's going to be Green Goblin, it's going to be Rhino. Where have you seen those before? That's Spider-Man's one. That's not Miles'
What would have been interesting, though, is if they made the second one where it was like Peter Parker was the bad guy.
Yeah, that's what everybody thought.
He had the Venom, and it's like now Miles Morales is going there, having to stop the Venom because Peter picked it up, you know, when he was on vacation. Then that would have, I think, been interesting.
That would have been a way better story.
That would have been the 2, and then you combine them in the third one to basically be like, you know, like you could then say, oh, it's a world of Venoms coming from another planet, and now you 2 have to stop this world of Venoms.
Or what they could have done is, if they wanted to have them both in there, is you play as Parker and lead it up to what happened at the end of Spider-Man 1 and the reason why he wasn't there in Miles Morales, and you can be like, oh, he's coming there. He slowly has the symbiote suit. He's turning it over there, and then he turns on Miles and he becomes a bad guy. Now you no longer play with Parker. He's, you know, doing whatever there, and now Miles has to figure out, how am I going to stop this now super powerful Peter Parker? And then that's how then Miles can acquire new abilities and stuff like that he can handle, you know, a souped up Peter Parker with the symbiote suit. And then at the end you can see like he was able to destroy it and contain the symbiote, and Parker's like, man, what happened? Like, and then explain it up on that, and then you can maybe build up somebody else got the symbiote suit, and now like Venom is there, and now they both got to team up because now they both experience Venom that way. But no, they screwed up the story by doing all this stuff going convoluted and all these side stories up over there that ruined it. Well, with our last story, instead of doing all the dreary and sadness of the sequel problem, we have this funny one that came up that somebody called the police about gunshots in California because somebody was playing, what was it, Call of Duty or was it Battlefield?
The big mystery is whether it was Battlefield 6, Call of Duty, Black Ops 7, or something else.
Yeah, so basically there was online chatter, and they were going like,
a person residing in Northern California was visited by a police officer the weekend after they received a call about possible gunshots and yelling. Is that of a dangerous situation?
Somebody did threatening words and pop sounds that came out.
Authorities discovered someone was just playing video games too loudly with their window open.
Yes. So when you're like, oh, I'm gonna get you, brother, blah 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 blah, and you start doing all that, somebody thought, oh, somebody's getting shot up on there because they hear the gunshots. Now that's funny on there. And anybody who's played Call of Duty back in the day, in the lobbies on there, like, yeah, I can understand it. But the problem with this is it leads to the swatting, and it leads to cops getting called for something that,
But I just thought it was funny, though. Like, I wanted to show you off this article because I can imagine somebody, like, I don't know where this was in Northern California, but I can just imagine somebody, like, in their like, apartment or wherever next door to them, and they're, like, diving down into they're, like, hiding in
they're hiding there because the hero's like, yeah, I got you.
Instead of it, like somebody just playing a game, like like they, and also too, it makes me wonder, maybe this person also isn't a fan of video games because they didn't recognize that, like, if the TV was up too loud, they could tell.
That's the one thing that, like,
it's in a Chico police department.
Yeah, but, like, the one thing that, like you said, like, didn't really make any sense is you can't tell the difference.
No, they couldn't.
Between video game sounds and real, like, because Call of Duty is not, like, you can tell that the shooting and stuff like that, and the the sound of what's going on there, like that, it's not real, because, like, especially if it was Call of Duty or even Battlefield, like, you're in kind of like a war setting, so unless you're hearing, like, bombs being dropped and stuff like that, like, you can totally tell.
But here's also my other thing too, was the threatening words, like, was the guy or girl, I don't know, they didn't say, playing online, talking trash.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. They're probably like, die, mother effer. Like, oh, I'm going to get you. Like, oh, what, you thought you could shoot me? I'm going to get you back.
Is it like the old school Modern Warfare days?
That's what I'm saying. With the old school lobbies, like, we would have been called, like, a lot longer,
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering, if it's like threatening words there that somebody, just trash talking. Nothing serious, but just trash talking.
So that's what I said. It is a mystery of what they were playing, because
I think it was Battlefield 6, because I think Call of Duty was probably weak sauce.
Yeah, well, or maybe the person was like, what the F is this game? Like,
Black Ops 7? Yeah. I thought those Borderlands said, good grief.
It's like, man, there, and he's like, man, I guess I'm going to have to kill this guy. And they probably heard the cinema scenes on there where they're like, yeah, we got to get this dude, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh no, it's a gang shooting. Like, we got to watch out for that. So I find it kind of funny and also kind of weird on how you can't tell the difference between.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, people can't tell the difference between fireworks and gunshots too.
So I just thought this was something funny we could end in the segment on. So
yeah. I mean, have you ever been playing in a lobby and thought that the cops needed to be called because
maybe he had his headphones on and so he couldn't hear, like, the surroundings.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought it was too low, and then he turned up his TV.
Or, hear me out on this one, maybe the person who called the cops was the one that was losing in the game, and they just wanted to call it to be like,
to get this person off their win streak that they were winning.
That
so
they were
you never know.
Yeah. But yeah, it would have been funny if this report told us what the threatening words and pop sounds that it was, or what game that they were actually playing. I'm curious to know what the officer thought about this. But yeah, so that's the end of our stories that we have, and all the news that we're gonna tell for this week. So like and subscribe to this channel so we can continue to do it and do more. We're trying to reach 10 subscribers by the end of the year, which isn't too far off, so hopefully we can get that. This is the Roundtable Podcast. We do this weekly. We also have another one that's the Tackles and Takedowns, that's more specific to wrestling and football, and when football season's over, it's going to be more talk about wrestling and possibly like other sports and stuff like that, but mostly wrestling and football. So you can like and subscribe to that channel as well. Robert Wheeler Gaming over here, he has his channels on that he does. He does his news,
Robert's
his roundup, and right now he's going through a platinum journey where he's trying to do 30 games,
30 platinums
in 30 days.
It's tough right now.
Going okay for him right now. I mean, he still has 29 more days.
29 more days to go.
To go and platinum it. So, subscribe to his channel so you could get that journey of him trying to do the platinum on it. But yeah, other than that, have a good rest of your day. Enjoy our channel. Like and subscribe to it so we can do more of this. And we'll see you on the next one.
God bless you guys. Take it easy.
Yep, see you.
Man, my arms are hurting from that workout the other